Every belief that you have is a choice. The questions you ask yourself will determine the course of your life.
The key to immortality is first, living a life worth remembering. I know a lot of people struggle with self-worth, and I wish that there was an easy answer to tell you it is enough to simply be alive. That being a person makes you valuable and will give you the self-worth that you want. There's no way to stumble and fumble through life hoping that it will somehow add up to something that makes you feel good inside. When there's no noise, when there's no distractions, when there's nothing but the sound of your own voice in your head, what are you saying? Do you believe in yourself? Do you know you can do it?
My parents' biggest frustration was that I was epically lazy, and if they handed out gold medals for being lazy, I would have won. I was a slightly chubby kid growing up in a morbidly obese family in Tacoma, Washington. I always knew two things about myself. One day I was going to be rich, and I was going to have six-pack abs. Like, those are the two things, is that kid that was, jiggling his belly thinking, one day I'm not going to have to suck in my gut. I had been asking myself, what do I need to do to get rich? And it left me really unhappy. These two guys that were successful entrepreneurs and bodybuilders happened to walk into a class when I was a teacher. And they said, hey, we need a copywriter. Why don't you come be a copywriter? And I went all in. They literally put me in the room with all the computer servers. But starting from there, I knew I could wow people because I was willing to grind it out. When I left for college, my own mother, who had always been my biggest cheerleader, quietly assumed I was going to fail. My superpower may be the willingness and ability to endure suffering. I had suffered a lot. I hadn't taken a day off in like 6.5 years because I was so hell-bent to get rich.
The only thing that matters is what you think about you. And the only way to get that, the only way to get to a life that is worth living, that you will judge as worthy, is to put in the work. Have you put in the work? Because the reality is to become someone that you respect. It doesn't matter what the rest of the world thinks. You could very much have the love and adoration of every person on this planet and still hate yourself.
And then I realized I had hit my breaking point. Almost 8.5 years in, I'd finally had enough from suffering, and I got so mad, and I was so unwilling to do it anymore, and I turned to my partners and I say, I'm completely miserable, I quit. Along the way, I had become so myopically focused on this promise I'd made to myself as a kid that I never stopped to ask, why do I want to get rich?
Remember, skills have utility. The only reason for self-improvement is to be able to do something with it, to create something with it. Or are you afraid of what others think? Are you afraid that you might fail? Are you worried that you're going to embarrass yourself? Are you worried that you will achieve glorious heights only to fall? Are those the things that dictate the life you live? Are those the things that keep you small? Because if they are, you're that person that no matter how much other people love you, you're never going to love yourself.
Life is too short. This is your one go-round. So what are we going to do?
And at the end of the day, that is the only thing that matters. How do you feel about yourself when you're by yourself?
I started thinking about my uncle who ate himself to death when I was 12 years old. I started thinking about my mom and my sister. But they were profoundly overweight, and how much that scared me, and it made me sad. And it made me sad to see that there were millions, if not more than 1 billion people that were in the same kind of abusive relationship with food that my mom and my sister were. So I said, I don't know if it's a big business, but I know it's a big problem. And that's the problem that we're going to solve. And so we decided to build a totally new kind of company. I was wearing a hairnet and a lab coat every day, and my employees were felons, ex-drug dealers, former gang members. We were in Compton, and we literally told everybody in the neighborhood, I don't care if you've been convicted of a crime. I just want to know if you're willing to bust your and I'm not going to ask for your resume. I don't care about your resume. Your resume tells me where you've been. It doesn't tell me the price you're willing to pay to become somebody new.
At the end of the day, you have to earn that self-worth. You have to decide what is a life that's worth remembering. What is a life that's going to give you that sense of self? What are you going to have to do to earn that? because you have to earn that.
I choose to believe that human potential is nearly limitless, and this was the belief that changed my life, because once I realized, so it's not about who you are today, it's about who you want to become and the price you're willing to pay to get there. And I promise you, the day that you're willing to pay any price, you'll achieve what you want to achieve.
Create something that matters to you, and in doing that, in becoming the best version of yourself, then you're truly living a life worth remembering.